My name is Aldreama Harper, and I'm a business and podcast launch strategist. I'm also a systems slash organizing consultant and host of the OrganizedPreneur podcast. That is where I help female entrepreneurs like coaches and consultants and service-based entrepreneurs to turn their businesses, whether it's new or existing, into a thriving, sustainable dream business, one that creates more time, more freedom, and a business that you will love. Everybody wants a business that they love. So I want to welcome you. Others will be joining very, very shortly, but we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. So, um, let's talk a little bit first about what this podcast challenge is all about, this 5-day challenge. So first of all, this challenge, this is the 4th month. I do these challenges every month. I absolutely love doing these challenges. I don't know if you've already been here, to the challenge before. If not, that is okay. We try to make them a little bit different every time, but nevertheless, we want you to enjoy yourself. We want you to learn something. We want you to definitely walk away with a roadmap. Okay. So this challenge is geared toward helping you to kickstart your podcasting journey, right? So that you can get your message out there, get your message to the masses, right? And so I wanted to just share a few benefits, in terms of what this podcast challenge is going to help you to do. So first of all, it provides a learning and networking experience. There will be others that will be joining, as well as there is also a community. I'll add that information in a few moments, where you can join the community, and so that you can, do some networking and just talk with other like-minded entrepreneurs like yourself. And so there is that component. Each day brings fresh insights, actionable strategies, and advice tailored toward your specific goals and interests. So in addition to that, we like to foster connections with like-minded individuals from around the globe, enabling you to expand your network, share experiences, and collaborate with others on new ideas and things that you may be thinking about doing as far as your podcast is concerned, or your business. And so at the end of each session, you'll be given an assignment. Yeah, you got to leave with an assignment, right? And so you'll be given an assignment to help you in the creation of your podcast. Like I said, this is going to provide a roadmap for you to start your podcast, launch your podcast, start your podcast, however you want to say it. And you will have a roadmap to do that, right? So I'm here to facilitate and help guide you through some of the complexities and the overwhelm and the pitfalls from my experience of launching 3 podcasts. I've launched 3, and I share a little bit about that because the first 2, well, let me just say my first podcast, I had no idea what I was doing. And so when I launched the podcast, I just knew that I love podcasts. So I launched my first podcast back in, I think it was 2013, when I launched my first podcast. And so I just liked the platform that I was using because it had all kinds of bells and whistles and things like that, so that it could enhance your voice and add an audience in the background. And so I was just having so much fun with it. And not only that, I've always had an interest in this type of platform. So I started this before podcasting was really just as popular as it is now. It really is very, very popular, but there's still room to enter into this space if you're looking to launch your podcast, which is the reason that you are here. And so what this is going to do is I'm going to help you with some of the complexities and the overwhelm and the pitfalls from launching my podcast. So my first one didn't really go anywhere, didn't do a whole lot. I just was enjoying the platform. The second one I did with a co-host. At the time, I had a business partner, and so we launched a podcast together. And the way we did it was we used freeconferencing.com, and we would have people to come on, just dial in, and then we would turn that into a podcast so that everyone, could listen to all the replays and things like that. So that we did for about 4 years, right? So I want to say it was 4 years, 3 or 4 years. I know we have over 400 episodes out there. And then the third podcast that I launched, which is what I'm doing now, which is the OrganizedPreneur podcast. And it wasn't always called the OrganizedPreneur podcast. I've had a lot of little different pivots and turns and things like that. As a matter of fact, I'm working on a little bit of pivoting as we speak. And so, but I shared that because I wanted you to know that I have a little bit experience, in this place. And so that's what I am here to help guide you through. And so the skills that you're going to learn from this 5-day challenge is really going to help you to there be transferable skills, right? That's going to help you in your business and various aspects of your business and beyond podcasting, right? For example, we're going to talk about content creation. We're going to talk about a little bit about branding and promotion and audience engagement. And this is all fundamental pillars of marketing and business development in any industry, right? And so I'm just thankful that you all are here today, so that you can learn some skills. And that's what I'm here to guide you through, because they're really going to be instrumental in helping you in a lot of different areas. Hi, Danielle. Thank you for joining me. And so overall, the 5-day challenge is an excellent starting point for those who are just beginning their business journey, because you're going to get some practical skills, you're going to get some community support, and you're going to get a roadmap for success. And so this podcast launch challenge is really designed to equip you. So let me say a little bit about podcasting, because why is it that what's this whole thing about podcasting? What is this all about? So what I love about podcasting is that it really does help to increase your visibility and authority. When you launch a podcast, you're able to reach a wider audience, establish yourselves as experts and thought leaders in the industry, in your industry, right? Because when you are consistently sharing valuable content through your podcast, you can attract new clients and customers and strengthen your brand reputation, right? And so that's whether you are starting a podcast, or if you're planning on being a guest on other people's podcasts. Both work very well for helping you to increase your visibility and your authority. The next thing, to answer the question, why podcasting? Podcasting, when done right, it will help you serve as a very powerful content marketing tool. It will enable you to repurpose episodes into long blog posts, right? Sorry, social media snippets, email newsletters, and all those type of things. So when you create your content once, you'll be able to repurpose into other types of content, right? Again, social media posts, email marketing, blog posts, newsletters, all of those type of things. That's what podcasting will help you to do. When you do it right, you can do it one time and then repurpose from your podcast, right? So, and this is what helps you to attract and nurture your leads, drive traffic to your website, ultimately generating more business opportunities when done right. The next thing is that it diversifies your revenue streams, because as your podcast audience grows, then you can explore different ways to monetize, right? A lot of people look at sponsorship. Some people are interested in affiliate marketing. You can offer premium content offerings through your podcast, right? And so you can sell your own products or services. And this really does help you to diversify your revenue streams. One of the things that I see a lot of people do is that they try to diversify too early in the game. And when you do that, when you do it too early in the game, in the podcasting, game, and try to diversify, what happens is people don't. This is what I've seen. Maybe you haven't seen it, or maybe some others that join, or watch the replay haven't seen it. But I've seen that where you don't have enough stability in one thing to allow you to diversify, right? And so you want to make sure that you have something that is already sustainable, that's working, right? And so maybe it's your book, right? Or maybe it's your course or something that's already working. Then you have the ability to diversify, because now you have more of a solid foundation. And so podcasting is really important for your business, because it allows you to have a starting point, like a launch pad, if you will, so that you can reach a wider audience. Hopefully that makes sense. I wanted to also give you a few stats, and then we'll get right into the content that I want to share with you, and then we'll allow for some questions and things like that, and you'll have an assignment, all that wonderful stuff. So here are a few stats about podcasting. So 50% of the US population listen to a podcast. Type in the chat if you actually listen to podcasts. Type a 1 in the chat if you listen to podcasts. I am an avid podcast listener. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you so much. I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time. There's so much out there that you can learn and even implement, from other people's podcasts. Thank you, Peggy. And so 50% of the population listen to podcasts. Why is that? Because it fosters deeper connections with an audience. So people are actually launching podcasts so that they can foster deeper connections with their audience. And so, and here's another stat. It says 80% of podcast listeners listen to all or most of each episode. That was astounding, to me, because sometimes, depending on, what it is, I know for me, when I listen to podcasts, I'm listening to podcasts in a certain genre. I love entrepreneurship. I love, things that's going to help me grow in the space that I'm in. And so I love listening to podcasts for those reasons. And so when they are really good podcasts, I'm going to listen all the way until the end, right? So 80% of podcast listeners listen to all or most of each episodes. And that's what you want your podcast to do, right? Because if they listen to the end, there is a reason that they're staying there, right? And another stat says 54% are more likely to consider buying your products or your services or whatever it is you're offering. So when you create or you start your podcast or launch a podcast, and you're launching it to support your business, right? And whether it's affiliate marketing, like I said, or whatever it is you decide to insert in your podcast, then 54% are likely to consider buying whatever it is you're offering, right? So those are some really, really good stats. It doesn't really matter, how many podcasts are out there. Again, when it's done right, you can actually create a space for yourself in the marketplace. Okay. The last thing I want to share before we get into the content is that beyond this 5-day challenge, there will be an opportunity for continuous learning and support beyond this 5-day challenge so that you can be equipped even more with knowledge and resources just to continue improving your podcasting skills. Because unfortunately, 5 days is not enough, right? What's going to happen here, you will walk away with a roadmap. We'll also, again, be giving you an assignment, right? But also, if you want to, continue improving in your skills, then I will definitely offer that opportunity. Just wanted to make sure that I let you know about that, because continuing, and continuing to improve your podcasting skills is really essential. One of the things, one of the stats, and I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but this happens in business and in podcasting. When there are so many people that start their podcast and they get to a point where they get burnout, right? They get, they just stop, right? And this happens quite often in the area of podcasting, because the thing you have to keep in mind about podcasting is that this is really organic. The way that I teach it is an organic way to get your voice and your message, to the masses. I don't teach, how to do ads. That's not my genre. I don't teach people, I don't even teach how to do sponsorships. That's not even my genre. Although there are ways, you can do that. But the way I teach it is very, very organic, so that you can have an organic reach, which means it's slow. Okay. So, but the whole thing is all about starting. You got to start somewhere, right? And so by investing time and effort into launching and growing your podcast, you're going to unlock a wealth of benefits that directly contribute to the success and growth of your business. So if that's why you are here, then let's do this. Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat if you're ready. Let's go. All right. Awesome, Peggy. Thank you so much. Awesome. So here's what the agenda looks like. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate it. So here's what it looks like. So day 1 is going to be all about clarifying your podcast niche. Okay. And again, like I said, this is organic, but this is going to help you in your business. If you already have a business, and I guess I should have asked that, if you already have a business, it's going to help you in your business, right? To clarify your podcast niche. If you're in a business, that's the one thing that you have to do as well. You must clarify your niche. I said it niche, but some people say niche, some people say niche. All right. Awesome, Peggy. Thank you. All right. And so clarifying your podcast niche is what we're going to talk about today. Day 2, we're going to talk about crafting compelling content. Day 3, we're going to talk about creating a loyal audience. Day 4 is all about creating your recording studio. And day 5 is all about commencing with your podcast. Most people start with wanting to know how to create their recording studio. What kind of mic do I need to get? What platform do I need? All of those type of things. We'll cover that, but that's not the first thing, that's important, because you can have the best mic, the best, recording studio with all of the bells and whistles, the best platform, whatever. But if you have not identified and clarified your podcast niche, nobody's going to find you, right? Because the thing that you want to make sure that you do is talk to the people that want to hear from you. Okay. So There is that. So let's start with clarifying your podcast niche. Before I move forward, let me ask if there are any questions about what I've shared so far. You can, I know that I believe Peggy said she can't unmute herself, but if you want to, you can type a question in the chat or, things like that. And so definitely, I want to answer any questions, that you all have. Welcome, Wendy. Thank you for joining. You're just in time. We're just about to jump into the content. And go ahead, Wendy, and just share. Put a 1 if you have a podcast, or a 2 if you don't have a podcast. So that would be awesome. I like to know who I'm talking to, right? All right, all right. Um, all right. So let's talk about clarifying your podcast niche. Okay. How to clarify your podcast niche. Clarifying your podcast niche is all about identifying the people. Well, first, you got to identify your expertise and your passions. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. So first, you got to identify your passions and your expertise and your target audience, right? So that you can carve out a clear and focused niche that resonates with your unique voice. And so why is this important? Well, just like I said earlier, just as it is important in your business to have a niche, it is important in podcasting to have a niche. Okay? You have to. This is like the most important foundational um, you know, pillar, if you will, is to make sure that you identify and have a clear niche. This is what helps you to attract your specific audience and differentiate yourself in a crowded market. Yes, there are a lot of podcasts out there, but when you have identified your niche and your audience and those that you want to attract, as well as being able to um, identify what you love, right? But there has to be an intersection, right? You can love a lot of things, right? And let me say a little bit about passion, because I really do not advise people to start with passion, because your passions can take you everywhere or anywhere. But just like in business, if you can identify your passion and intersect that with your proclivity, the things that you are really good at, and you want to attract people that want to hear more about that and how you can serve them, because it really is not about us, it's about how can we serve you. And that's one of the reasons, my main reason for doing these podcasts, 5-day challenges, because I have a passion, I have a proclivity, I have experience in this area. And so I knew that this was something that others wanted to do, because I see it all the time. I see people all the time interested in knowing how to launch their podcast, right? And so again, this is it's important to define a clear podcast niche. So my niche is I'm speaking to newbie entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and service-based entrepreneurs. So there are 3 things that that's my area of focus, if you will. So female, newbie, entrepreneurs in the service space, but also you have to be looking to launch a podcast. So when I get all of those T's crossed, right, and I's dotted, then I'm identifying my niche. That's how I identify, my niche. So those are the people that, I like to speak to, right? So just to share a little bit about my background as far as my entrepreneurial endeavors, I have been in the organizing productivity systems space. Excuse me. And so 21 years ago now, yeah, something somewhere along the, I started a professional organizing business. I've also launched a virtual assistant business. And so those are the type of businesses which are service-based businesses that I have the experience in. And so my professional organizing business, I started that like over 20 years ago. And so I have experience there. So I have the experience, the proclivity, get that right, proclivity, as well as the passion to help those in that space to better their businesses. So I'm hoping this is all making sense. Um, so that's how you begin to attract your audience and differentiate yourself in a crowded market. Now, you may be saying, well, there's other people that have that do that as well. Yes, but I still have my own unique experience, and journey that I have gone through. And so when I share those things, even on my podcast, even on this 5-day challenge, when I share those things, there's going to be certain things that resonate with you that you may think, oh yeah, so she's, she's done this, she's speaking my language. So how many of you have actually been on or listened to a podcast and you're like, oh my gosh, they're just speaking my language? You've gone to, an event, a virtual event or whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, they are speaking my language, right? So I can only speak the language of someone that's in a service-based business, because I've been in a service-based business. But even in that, my experiences and my journey, again, is different from, anyone else, because I'm unique, you're unique. And so those are the things that you have to think about when you're launching your podcast or launching your business, right? So hopefully that all makes sense. All right. So what I'm going to do now, before we get into an exercise, I want to make sure, well, let me go ahead and check the chat to see if there are any questions, anything about what I shared so far, because the next thing that we're going to do is I'll answer questions. We'll do an exercise. You'll get an assignment, and then we will, because we'll be here for another 15, 20 minutes or so, however long, you want to be here. So I'm going to check let me check the chat. Okay, I don't see any questions so far. Okay, all right. So here's what I want to do. Because your exercise is going to be around clarifying your niche. Okay, so what I want you to do is, if you have a pen and paper, I want you to think about and brainstorm. Let's see, how do I want to do this? So I want you to brainstorm a few ideas about your podcast. In other words, potential podcast topics. And if I remember correctly, everyone in here has a business. Am I correct? Is everyone in? Okay, yeah, okay. Everyone in here has a business. All right, perfect. Thank you, Danielle. All right, and Wendy. I'm sorry. Yeah, Wendy. Sorry. Yes, Peggy has a business. Everyone. Okay, perfect, perfect. And so I just wanted to make sure that, because if your podcast is around your business, then this is going to be a very good exercise for you. Um, okay, Danielle. All right, you'll get the replay. Thank you for joining, Danielle. I appreciate it. And so what I want you to do is take, 3-4 minutes to brainstorm some topics based on your interests, your expertise, and your target audience, because that's what we talked about. Because if you want your podcast to speak to that person, or that one person, then this is how you're going to get started, right? So take 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll let's see, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. All right, take 2 minutes, brainstorm about your podcast topics based on your expertise, your target audience, and your interests.